Welcome back to Fishing with Vance. On today's video, I'm going to finally get to those Pelican Bass Raider modifications I've been talking about for a while. Today's is going to be a new table, a single man table that's designed for whenever I'm going fishing by myself. So it's going to be lighter and it's not going to have a bracket. A lot of guys have been asking, where can I get these brackets? And they're tough to come by. We used to get them from Academy or Pelican, but right now they're tough to get. So I wanted to build this table without the bracket, make it smaller and lighter, and only has 4 pole holders. And I made a few changes to how the pole holders went on, so stay tuned to the video to see how I switched it up. I'm going to have to voice over this video just because, I know you won't have to look at me the whole time, but because the audio, when I was in the workshop and in garage, it came out pretty crappy. So I'll just edit. I'll just talk through as the video goes at the appropriate points to let you know what was going on in the video. So I appreciate you guys watching. I'm getting excited for the new fishing season. I'm sure you guys are too. But this is one of the mods that I have, and I have another one coming. So stay tuned for that. This one's along the lines of the theme of I want to be able to catfish and carp fish off the Pelican this year. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up here in the next week or so. So thanks for joining me, and let me know what you think of the video. Subscribe, comment, mostly comment. I like to hear from you guys. And thanks for joining me today on fishingwithvance.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Fishing with Vance. As you can see outside, it is icy, frigid cold. I think we got like a half-inch of ice up here in PA, and never did get all the snow we got, but as you can see, it's plenty cold, so still a long way, it feels like, from any fishing for me, but it gives me more opportunity to work on the Pelican Bass Raider. So let me show you what I want to address. Sorry with the camera moving around here. What I want to show you is what I want to try to address for this season. And a couple things I'm going to do differently this year. We're going to catfish and carp fish out of this Pelican this year. Got my tractor in here in the way right now, but that's all right. But anyway, what I want to do is we're going to catfish and carp out of here. But I also have been doing a lot of fishing by myself, so I want to change this table again. And I know you guys have probably you've seen a lot of the different table builds that we've done over the years, but a couple things that I want to change. And when I go by myself, believe it or not, I don't need these 8 rod holders up here. I'd say probably the most is 4 or 5. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to build a whole different table, and a couple things. I'm going to have less pole holders on it. I think I'm going to just have it be 2 and 2, and then the pole that's in my hand then will be my fifth rod. And then also I want to narrow this down. This thing is, I believe that it is 4 feet. This table's 4 feet this way and 2 feet this way. So yeah, whatever you want to call that, width and depth, but let's just call it width of the boat, 4 feet. It's the same as this. And then this is 2 feet. So in this, I'm not going to get rid of this table. This is a great table for 2-man trips, whether any of my fishing partners are coming with me, or anybody that I'm bringing along. It's nice to have pole holders for them. The handles worked out great. That's fine. No issues with that. But the key is I got to keep it light. This thing is super light. That I can move with one hand and get it on and off the boat. And again, this new table is going to be the single man table. If I'm out there going by myself, I'm not going to bring this guy with me. I'm going to bring the single man table because I'm thinking about changing up how I fish out of the Pelican this year. I'm thinking about moving myself to the front when I'm by myself, put a trolling motor up on the front, and as you know, our wiring does front and back. I'm going to fish out of the front, and I'm going to move this, the table, slide it all the way back as far as it'll go, Now the only issue I probably will have is I can't get too far back because of the battery, but I can slide this chair can come all the way back here, and I can pretty much be sitting essentially in the middle of the boat with the battery underneath me. So that's the idea there, and I'm gonna want to put. I'll only have one chair, of course, and then I'm gonna have the table back here on this side and fish out of the front. It's gonna give me even more room when I'm by myself, because what I run into when I'm by myself, I do shove this table up. I got the other chair in there right now. I do move it up, but then my feet are still, if I'm facing front, and I do fish out the back a lot, but if I'm facing the front, then I have the batteries in the way. So I'm gonna, like I said, whether I fish out of the front or the back doesn't matter, in the sense that I do want a smaller table that is just wide enough for me to bring my one bag if I'm by myself, one bag and 4 pole holders. The other thing I want to address with it is the height. When we first did this table, we wanted it to be low so that when we turn around, we can get it. We wouldn't hit our knees. I'm going to try to build it higher, and I'm going to build it up higher, which brings me to another thing. These brackets are very difficult to come by. I happen to have a couple extra ones. Sorry. I happen to have a couple extra ones up on the wall up there, but they're bent and kind of, I think I have one new one left, but I'm kind of saving those for my seats. And I'd like to start to build these tables. A lot of guys will say, "Hey, I'd like a table, but I can't find the brackets anywhere." And so I'm going to design a new table that is not going to need the bracket. All right, long way of saying that. So I'm going to make it higher. I think I'm going to come up at least this much higher. Less pole holders, and I'm going to eliminate the bracket, and I'll probably eliminate how wide it is. I'm probably going to bring it in some, because again, when I'm by myself, it'd be nice to have access to these sideboards here, these, so that like if I lay down, the net or the oar there that's in the bottom. So stick around. We're going to head to the workshop and build this smaller, more lean, single-man table on fishingwithvance.com. Alright guys, it's freezing cold. I think it's 18 degrees outside. So, it's time to build my table. We're going to do it. So we're going to fire up this wood burner, get some wood in here. It says, let's see what it says it is in here. I think that's nonsense. It says it's 22 degrees outside. I'm not sure it's 22, but this is where I'm going to build my table in the old workshop. So let me get a fire started. Alright, once I got the fire started, I just wanted to pick out pretty much, not scrap wood, but some piece of wood I had laying around. I think it's just whiteboard, and it's I think it's 1 by 8, and so I was just measuring up. I'm going to make it the table 32 inches wide. The length between the channels for the seats and the other tables 28 inches. So it gives me a 2-inch overhang on both sides of what's going to be the legs. So I'm just measuring out the 32 inches here, and then going to go over to the miter saw and basically cut myself two pieces. I'm going to then take these 2 pieces and then join them together, and I'll show you how I do that, just using the Craig jig and with pocket holes and glue, and join the 2 boards together rather than going out and get a piece of plywood. Plywood's so expensive these days, and so It's cheaper to get this kind of stuff. So, just over at the little miter saw here. So I got two pieces that matched up pretty well. So now I'm just laying them out to figure out where I want to put the pocket holes. I ended up putting 4 pocket holes in here, and I glued it. I don't think I put the gluing process on camera, but I definitely used some wood glue first, and then I drilled out the pocket holes and joined them together. The boards weren't. This board in particular wasn't warped, so they ended up being pretty tight, and not a lot of due to bowing that the boards didn't match up. Any little amount that didn't match up, I ended up sanding off. But it actually worked out fine. And this Craig jig, if you guys are familiar with it, sorry for going over it, but it worked really well. I got this at the holidays, and this thing's great for pocket holes, especially if you're going to drill a bunch of them. Just mounts the end of your bench, and it's quick, and it's good. It's a good way to join for joinery. If it's not going to be necessarily load bearing, so it's quick and it works. And like I said, it's saved me getting some plywood. So there's the pocket holes, and I'm just laying it out and getting ready to put the Craig screws in and join these two guys together. So the glue, like I said, I forgot to record the gluing part, and so this is already glued and clamped, and I let it sit for probably about 20 minutes or so while I was doing something else, and probably stoking the fire. It was so cold. And then I screwed in the screws. So now the top's done. So now I found some more scrap wood, and I ended up basically splitting a piece of scrap 2x4, split it right down the middle, ripped it, I guess, and then cut the legs to 10 inches because I wanted the table to be 10 inches high. So it's light wood, and so now I just tapered the legs off is what I'm showing there. And I used a bandsaw for that, and just pretty much figured out that I needed to taper the legs down to 1 inch width, because that's what'll fit in the channel. So all 4 of them are done and they're ready to go. So before I did that, I wanted to sort of round off those edges. I could have just sanded it, but I wanted to try out my router, so I got my router out and rounded them off. And it worked out pretty well. And I don't want it to be a sharp edge and damage anything in my boat. But I don't think it would. So I went ahead and rounded them all off, and they turned out pretty nice. So there's a finished one. I got better at it up by the 4th one, but not not too bad at all. It's nice and rounded off, and I sanded the edges too, but not bad. Yeah. So once the sanding was done with my machine, then I just went ahead and did a little hand sanding just to make it a little smoother. I think it's 220 grit there, and table turned out nice and smooth. All right, so the table was done, so now I was figuring out where I wanted to place the legs. So I turned it over and just drew an outline around the base of the legs. so that I would know where to drill some pilot holes. So I drilled a small pilot hole through each one so that I would be able to know where to turn the table back over and drill the holes into the legs. So now that the legs were on, then all I needed to do then was, I still, they were pretty tight, but I wanted to put some support legs in between them, at least width-wise, to give it a little bit more stability. I am trying to hold off on putting them lengthwise down the length of the table, just from a weight perspective. So we'll see how this works out. If it falls apart after 3 or 4 trips, the next one will have to get those legs that I'm pointing to now. But for now, once these went in, it was pretty sturdy. So it's just going to be one bag on there. All right. So I'm showing you now that the way I attached them, same thing. I used pocket holes. I did have a little bit of a challenge getting my saw in there with the pocket screws, but I just had to keep using smaller and smaller, shorter and shorter bits in order to get them in there. But they went in, and they are very, very tight, and no, none of the legs split, which I did draw out a pilot hole first. So now that those are in, I'm showing you those are set and good to go. Now it's time to start looking at the pole holders. Now, I practiced on the side here because, like I was saying earlier, I don't want to just put these on top like we have in the past using the closet clamps. I actually wanted these to recess down into the table. So I took some 1.5 PVC with a reducer on top, and then I'm going to slide this down, and it stops it there. That way you have the pole underneath, both underneath the table and above the table. So I think I went 50-50, half under and half over. So here I am drilling out the hole. I used a jigsaw at first, but now I'm just cleaning up the hole with the Dremel tool. Just to I didn't want it to be too loose, but just right. So I just kept going back and forth. And there it goes. It's snugged right up. Beautiful. And there it is. There's the 4 so far. We're almost done. So there it is, guys. The single man utility table. No bracket. The legs fit right in the grooves. And the pole holders are recessed. So they're down in there. There's no coming off. These puppies are in there. You got the FWV sticker on it. Some handles. It's super light. Like I said, 4 poles. I'll have one in my hand so I can take a 5th if I want to. And this guy's going to be used when I go by myself. I think I'm thinking about putting it in the back of the boat here, like I said, and then fishing out of the front. Obviously I only have 1 seat on there. But there's plenty of room here. There's plenty of room here in the middle for my 1 bag. Again, when I go with anybody else, I'll take this guy right here. So that's still a great table, and I'll use that. But just for comparison's sake, look at this compared to this. It's quite a bit smaller, but it'll suit the needs. Same as the other one, especially when I'm by myself. So let me throw this pole in here. I can't get it'll hit my ceiling, so I have to try it an ultralight. So let's just throw an ultralight in there. And that's the whole idea. Again, there's just 4 of them. I'll be taking my my bass rods, but still, it'll work just fine, even with the biggest rods. So I'm pretty excited. Let me know what you guys think. Give me some comments on this. It was simple to build. Almost cost me almost nothing. All this stuff was laying around the house, except for the handles, and so no requirement of a bracket, just some scrap wood, and put this thing together. So I hope it holds up. If it doesn't hold up, we'll reinforce it more, but I'm hoping it does. Anyway, it's a long video. Stay tuned for the next one. Next one is going to be figuring out an anchor system for the Pelican. So we'll see how that goes. I think I pretty much know what I'm doing. I just got to get the parts in, and then I will be building something for that, some definite mod for that, because we got to stay still while we're trying to catch those cats and carp. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's long, but it's been a while since I got one out. And thanks for joining me today on fishingwithvance.com. Out.